Alright, welcome back to another day of van building. Today we're going to start framing on the walls, and let me say right up front that there's probably countless ways of framing depending on your skill level, the materials that you have, and the tools that you use. So this is in no way how you should do it, this is just the way that I do it. So we're going to start on this wall, and we'll get that done hopefully today, but I've already done the other side, so let me show you what that looks like, and then I'll show you how we did it. Alright, so we have our horizontals in. That was the first thing I did. Put the horizontal pieces in, and then we did all the vertical pieces. And while it might look a little overkill, it's going to serve the purpose well, because I'll have a lot of attachment points for cabinetry that I do want to put in, counter spaces, seating, etc. So that is how I framed my walls, and it looks really good. And it is all nice and straight across. I'll give you a shot of how I look at that. But we are going to attempt to do that exact same thing on this side. So let's take a look and see how straight we are. So what we want to try to do is try to keep the sides as flat as possible without a lot of wave. Although everything's going to get paneled, and you probably won't see a lot of the imperfections if it is out of line. But so what I did is once everything was up, go ahead and lay a nice straight piece of wood on here, and I see that I'm flush all the way across. And if I move up, same thing, I'm flush all the way across from front to back. Yes, so we have a nice line going across, so when we put our paneling up, everything is going to be nice and straight instead of all wavy. And just for fun, we'll show you the front here as well. We lay a nice straight edge board on here, and it lays flat on all of our boards, top to bottom. Oh yeah, I like that. It doesn't wobble or anything, all the way up to where the cabinets are going to be. And I'll show you one more thing that's going to help when we go to build the cabinets. Hopefully we get the same results on the other side. Now, just like in most van builds, the cabinets are going to go up here on the top, and template making can be a little intimidating, but if the shape is all the same, it makes it that much easier. So I'm using an adjustable T-square, and I've got this angle here, and it should be the same on each board. Now, the van unfortunately is not built with this in mind, so there are just a little bit of a gap that we can compensate on here, and back here is just a little bit different as the van comes back. But if I can get that in there. There we go. The back seems to be a lot straighter than the front. Yeah. Look at that. Nice. Got a perfect angle all the way here across the back, and we'll do a split cabinet. We'll have a cabinet in the front, cabinet here in the back, and then we'll put a sort of a false wall here. I'm not sure. I might put some electronic switches in that area. Alright. And one last thing before we get to rocking in and rolling is just above the wheel well, I went ahead and put in this horizontal piece here. That way when I build out the wheel well box, I'll have attachment points here on the side, on both sides, and across the top, and then of course we'll mount on the floor. So that takes care of that. Now, let's get started on the other side. Okay, so for our top boards, which we're going to start first, I used a 1x6, which is actually a 3/4 by about 5 7/16 wide. And went to the store last night, picked up a board, and I should have measured it. This is a 1x8, so we're going to have to cut it down some to 5 7/16. But that is the board we're going to use. And let's go ahead and get this cut down, then we'll take some measurements. Alright, now with our board cut to width here, we're ready to start taking some measurements. So on the inside here, up top, we have these little tabs. So I'm taking a measurement in between these tabs, and that's where I'm going to place my wood because it'll lay flat. If I take it over here, then it's going to have a little bit of a wave to it because it's going to want to rest on these tabs. So we're just going to go ahead and put them right in between these tabs. And I have 4 boards that we need to cut. So with that, get yourself a pencil and paper, because you're going to take some measurements. Measure in between each tab up here and jot that down. And then we'll take our board, set it on our saw, get that cut. So for each area, I just number them 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then take my measurements, and then I jot them down on a piece of paper. So there's the 1, 2, 3, 4 measurements that I'm going to use. Yours might be a little bit different, but that'll get you in the ballpark. So let's go ahead and cut our wood, and then we'll attempt to get those fastened up there. Alright, so we're here on the first piece. What we're going to do is set that up there and make sure it fits in between our tabs, and it looks good. And that's where we're going to line it up. Then we'll just slide it down and mark somewhat of a center line, like that. Then we'll take and measure down from this crease right here. 2 inches looks good. And that's where we're going to put our rib nuts and get things attached. So, alright, design change. In order to keep it consistent with the other side, went ahead and split the difference, put it right here in the center. So now we're just going to put a couple of holes, and then we'll get ready to mark the inside of the van. We use a 3/16 inch drill bit, and we're just going to drill a little hole here. Onto the inside. Alright, so now we're going to prepare for our holes. In order to do that, we're just going to take our board, set it in place, make sure we're in the right spot, top and bottom. Looks good. And then we'll just go ahead and mark our holes. So now we have marks for our rib nuts. Let's go ahead and get those in. Alright, so to get the proper hole, we're going to be using a step bit, and I've already done this several times, so we just need to come down to about the 4th notch, and we're golden. So let's go ahead and get that one in. Nice clean holes. Now we can set with the rib nuts. Alright, so a cool little tool, Astro 1450. It's got a 1/4 20 is what I'm going to use for the for the rib nuts, and of course I overbought these. I think I bought I don't want to tell you how many I bought. Anyway, you need 2 of these, and the way that this thing works, once you set your tool in here, we'll go ahead and put our rib nut on. Now we are ready to install. So let's put the first one in, then we'll get the second one in. We'll prepare the board and we'll get it bolted on. Alright, this is pretty simple and straightforward. So we have our rib nut tool. We've got our rib nut on here. Just going to insert that into our hole and squeeze it closed. There. And that's all there is to it. Now you can unfasten this. We're going to cheat. Put a little drill in here. That makes it so much quicker and a lot easier. Alright, so let's go ahead and get the second one on. Good deal. Boom, baby. Just like that. Alright, now we're going to use a Forstner bit, and we are going to countersink some holes down about 1/4 of an inch. Just like so. Then we take a 7/64 and go ahead and finish out the holes. And that'll allow our 1/4 inch bolts to go through. So to attach our wood to our metal frame, I am using 1/4 by 1.5 inch and 1/4 inch washer. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and insert that in our wood. Get it in place. And we'll get them started. And then we'll fasten them down. And to do that, we're just going to use a 7/16 socket bit here and gently get them started. Right on, right on, right on. And our metal's got a little bit of a bow to it, so it moves a little bit, but once everything's up there, it isn't going to go anywhere. Yeah, I'm liking that. Alright, so I've got 3 more to do. I'll go ahead and do the same thing as I did on number 1. So we'll get it set up there, pilot hole, mark for our rib nuts, and install the rib nuts, tighten things down. Then we can move on to the next step. Alright, so our top pieces are on and bolted in place. So we've got a good connection here and here. So when working with rib nuts, it's probably going to be inevitable that you spin one out. In that case, you do your best to get in behind there with some channel locks or something, hold on to the rib nut and back out your bolt. And it's a little work, but it can be done. I did it on this side as well. So as many rib nuts as I put in, I only spun out 2, so not too bad. Alright, now we can get our horizontal piece on here. First thing we got to do is take off our D-rings front and back and get our wood cut for that. Alright, so to keep things consistent with the other side, we cut our board 77 inches long, and we contoured here the front, slid it up, and we are 31 3/4 inches from the floor to the very top edge. And we do have marks where we're going to place our rib nuts. So next is to go ahead and drill some holes and get those rib nuts in. Then we get that piece installed. Last hole, battery dies. Alright, so our vertical piece is on, our horizontal piece is on. Now we can start doing the, well, we still have this bottom and the beast back there. We'll get those attached, and then we can start on the vertical pieces. So let me go ahead and get the bottom pieces cut, marked, drilled, and all that good stuff. We'll get those attached, and then we'll start on the vertical stuff. Alright, so here's how I find the center of the holes for where I'm going to attach here at the bottom. I put this up in place where I think I'm going to install it, tilt it back, and then mark center line for the holes, and we should be good there. And I take an extra block and I lay it here on flat. I run it down until it just starts to bend, and then I mark for the center hole there. And then I'll take a tape measure there. It looks like about a 1/2 inch. So we'll mark our lines, come up a 1/2 inch, drill our holes, and that will be hopefully where we attach things. We shall see. And yes, that worked. So now we have this front piece attached. There'll be one small piece here in the back. Put 2 rib nuts in that, and then we can start on the verticals. Alright, so I started with the vertical beams on this side. Wanted to make sure that I got the back one exact same place as this one, and then cut my little braces here that told me where the next one goes. So after that, then we're going to start on this side of the wheel well. We'll go ahead and install one of the vertical beams there, and then we will move forward one, and then we'll take care of the wheel well, just sort of like this section here. Now on all of these beams you can see that I've notched them out here to take care of this structural part of the van, which kind of juts out. So to work around that, I just notched each one of the vertical beams and put that in there really nice. So I made a little template, and we'll get ready to go ahead and do the next beam here, and I'll show you how I mark those, get them cut. Alright, so what I do is position my piece of wood in place. Alright. Then I take and I mark the top and the middle section where I think that notch is going to be. Then I'll take my template, and we'll set it on there and scribe the line. So my template, because it's got that little notch, fits up in there, lines up, and just clears that little notch right there, this little jut out. Alright, so let's get this piece cut, then we'll mark it for our hole, put our rib nut in, get it bolted down, and then we'll fasten it here on the bottom.
We're not leaving yet, I'm starting the car.
Alright, so now we'll just take and put that in place, line it up with marks that I've made, and then just kind of eyeball where I want that rib nut, right there. So we'll go ahead and drill our hole, mark this, put the rib nut in, get it bolted on, and then we'll fasten these, and then that one's done. Good deal. Alright, so I took a measurement from this vertical beam up, same as on the other side, made my mark. So now what we'll do is position that and push it in place, and then we're going to put 4 screws in it. I'm using number 8 inch and a quarter. So I will attempt to put 4 holes in this thing. Make sure you got it in the right spot. Get one in there. We'll get one in and hold it. Now we can go ahead and do the other 3. Nice and secure, bolted, screwed. We'll put some screws here on the bottom. Takes that curve of the van, and hopefully everything's in line when we're all said and done. So let me get this bottom one in, and we'll go ahead and install the next one, and then we'll do the wheel well, or the beam above the wheel well, something like that. Alright, to help line up the next vertical beam, I went and made some blocks. Same dimensions as the other side. We're going to put these up here. We'll tack those on top and bottom, and that way when we put our next vertical beam up, it'll slide up against it, and we should stay pretty consistent throughout. And I'm just using a staple gun with 1 1/4 inch staples. Same as the bottom, which you cannot see. Alright, so to help line this up, I just put that under there. Now I should have the same distance here as I do here, and we can make our notch and get this one installed. Alright, so we're going to install the board above the wheel well. Cut that at 53 1/8 of an inch. About a 1/16 off from the other side. I can live with that. And then make sure the distance from here to here is the same. Got it clamped up. Now we're just going to go ahead and drill some holes, get our screws in there, get this one set, and that way when we get ready to put in the next verticals up through here, we'll have something to screw into, fasten into. Alright, so let me go ahead and get these attached. We'll give you a shot when it's all said and done. And yeah, we'll do it. Alright, so our board is attached. And I put 4 screws on each leg here and secure that. I don't need to fasten it to the wheel well because, well, it doesn't move. Especially once I get the next 3 verticals in there, 4 of them, 4 verticals, and that'll apply pressure. That'll keep that thing from moving. And then we have about 3 more sticks here in the front we need to put on. But I only have 2 boards left, maybe 3. So I'm going to have to make a store run to get some more wood and be able to finish that out. So hang tight. Now, while you've been in there on the couch eating chips and watching your favorite soap operas, I've been out here waking. So I've got this wall nearly complete. We have 1 more stick here to put on and over the wheel well. And then I think we're nearly done with the framing. Then next will be the roof. So let's go ahead and get this last stick on, and then we'll just take a look at the whole thing. Yeah, see what we got done. So the first thing I did is cut a stick about 24 inches long. We're going to set that in place. We'll take a clamp and we'll just clamp that in place real quick. Yeah. And then we'll just measure from the top down to the top of our stick, add 24 inches to it. Boom, we've got our length. So let's set up and do that. So we'll put our tape in here behind our wood, make sure we're bottoming out, and come down, and I've got 31 and 13/16. We'll just call it 31 and 3/4. Add 24, and then we'll cut a stick, test it out, make sure it fits, and then we can get it attached. Alright, so I went ahead and cut the stick, and we got it set in place. You didn't even see me cut a stick. So now we're just going to go ahead and mark for our little notch here. Just kind of eyeballing it, and then we'll use our little template, set on there, mark our notch, get it cut, we'll set it back in place, get ready to mark for our hole. So we got our little mark set up. We'll just set our little jig right here. Line up, mark that, now we'll get it cut. Now start replacing. And that. It's like good. Alright. Wait, cut down, see what marks hole. Yep. You cut down, touch hole here, and we'll start with that. And just like that, our framing is nearly complete. So we have both sides framed. Now we're ready for the ceiling, but hang on for the wind. Nice and straight too. We are almost ready for a little bit of paneling on here. So let's talk about what we have to do next. Alright, next thing is to frame out the ceiling, and I think before I start on that, I'm going to work a little bit more on these panels here on the side. I want to put a piece of 1/4 inch on those because I want those to be flush all the way down both sides, and then we can put our ribs up here on the top and make those flush with the side panels, and that'll give us some good attachment points for when we put the ceiling on, and we can get the walls up. Everything will look nice and flush, hopefully minimize the amount of gaps that we're going to have. So I do have a little bit of insulation left that I think I'm going to go ahead and put here on the side panels, on the large sides. Up top is going to be covered by cabinets, and the center section here is probably the most open space, so we'll go ahead and use the remainder of the insulation and just get that in there so it's pretty well insulated. Alright, well, until next time, stay tuned.